Alright guys, so eventually next year, since the release of Zootopia Plus 2000, which is coming next year, eventually it is apparently confirmed that Mr. Wild, the father of Mrs. Wild and Nick Wild, so eventually when Zootopia was released, this was actually cut during the production. So in some scrap metal, like some scrap deleted content, when Nick was very young, they attempted to open Zootopia, which is actually a tailoring shop that would cater every kind of mammal. But in the piece of development arc by Matthias Lecture, he was named John Wild, but his name was ultimately unremainedly decided. So eventually there was a physical appearance that was Nick in somewhat like the fur color and the expression of the suit, but he is apparently more aged and heavily built. He wears like a sport black business suit and a checkered blue tie and gray tie. According to that, in the Zootopia official handbook, there was the art of Zootopia that there was a concept art of Mr. Wild, which is also known as Dr. Frank Cunningham. So you could see right here, this is the concept arts. And right here is the concept art of Nick's family. So you can see Nick's mother right here. As I actually watched the Junior Ranger Scouts clip, this clip apparently made me cry because there was like Pride and Prejudice, and it's apparently similar to that. I'm gonna give you one example later in the video. So there was actually a concept art of Zootopia, and this one was actually Nick's father, who wore a green business suit, and his son Nick apparently wore a green suit. So this art was actually created by Brian Howard, who was actually the directors in Zootopia, Tangled, and other Disney movies that I forgot. So when you just go and see the book pages, this is actually Nick's father. This is a young Nick right here. I would just say it may come next year. So eventually, it's apparently known that Nick's father is gonna be Mr. Wild, but it's currently unknown in Zootopia Plus, which is apparently a series. It is not a movie, according to the Wikipedia I found, so I'm gonna really show it to you later. So eventually, Mr. Wild is actually the wife of Mrs. Wild. So Mrs. Wild is actually a female red fox, and she's the incidental character in Zootopia, and she's Nick Wild's mother. So in her physical appearance, Mrs. Wild is a slender fox with a cream muzzle. It's identical to her son's because she has sleek red fur. Her visible outfit consists of a purple sweater and a crimson skirt. So eventually, her face never appears in the movie, but she's depicted from the neck down. When Nick was in a mirror, her appearance was in the comic books to keep her faceless. While Mrs. Wild actually appears little in the film, it says that she is both kind and giving, whether the family had enough money to buy the uniform or not, and actually sent Nick to the Scouts. She scrapped together as much money so she can allow Nick to get a uniform. So what I would apparently say this is, Nick actually came from a poor background, living with his mother. His father was never mentioned or seen, as I'm gonna really show you in this Wikipedia. I'm very, very sorry, but alright. So apparently I'm just gonna show you this one. Sorry, my voice is like bad. So eventually, look at this one. So I'm gonna read to you this one. So for the early life, Nick came from a poor background, living with his mother, Mrs. Wild. His father is never mentioned or seen, except in the original version of the film. As a child, Nick had a dream to join the local Junior Ranger Scouts for the goal of receiving genuine acceptance. When he was 8 or 9 years old, his mother scraped up enough money to buy a brand new uniform, allowing him the opportunity to join the division. But though he was the only predator there, the only fox, Nick attended his intention with confidence and zeal, unknowingly walking right into a trap. The intention turned out to be a cruel prank, and Nick was ridiculed, brutally beaten, and muzzled by the other scouts for being a fox. So what I would say is the scouts were actually a prey. They were prey scouts. So there was actually like something right here. I'm very sorry guys, I cannot show you the footage on YouTube because it will be copyrighted. And I do remember once or twice I've actually used like some footages from Disney, exterior Disney Plus, so eventually let's not do that. Anyways, let's continue. So as foxes are considered to among the most vile and trustworthy species of mammals in Zootopia. So after Nick was running outside to escape his tormentors, Nick tore off the muzzle and broke down in tears, developing a triggering fear of muzzles and dislike towards prey and veal to animals. From that moment forward, Nick vowed to never expose his true vulnerability to others, resulting in the fox presenting himself as static and unreachable. So what I would apparently say is, this is an actual example like a prejudice and pride. I'll give you one example in real life. So when the Asian hate began back in 2020, there were a lot of hate saying that the person would have to go back to a country, which is terrible. So eventually, I would just say many Asians, including Filipinos or Malaysians or even Japanese, get brutally beaten or murdered. This is actually the same thing that happened to Nick when he was a child. There was also another example, the Black Lives Matter. George Floyd, who was an African American, was saying he couldn't breathe. So one of the officers used his knee and did this to him. I'm sorry again, I cannot show you the footage for George Floyd because it would consider myself being a YouTube stealer, like a YouTube video stealer. So anyways guys, as a Malaysian Chinese diagnosed with speech delay and developmental delay, I feel like that the Asian hate needs to stop, especially for pride and prejudice towards others. So pride and prejudice would actually mean that sometimes you discriminate others for no reason. Sometimes you just say like this. So apparently the guy just said like, even though you're a fox, and then they decided to bully poor Nick, which actually breaks my heart because you know it's bad. It's terrible. It's apparently not okay to do a thing like that. I'll give you another example. So one time, apparently, I just called someone a terrorist, which is Helia. I'm sorry I cannot like show you that one because I didn't record the video. Eventually, I just really have like speech delay, and sometimes I'll just discriminate people for that. And you know the drill because I get really upset with people and apparently they just do something like that. So this is actually the similar thing when I actually do have like pride and prejudice towards others. So what am I really going to say now? So this is little Nick. So this is Nick when he was very young, right here. So eventually, and that's him crying because you know people get discriminated for no reason, you know. So eventually when you just show the footage right here, there's actually one time that Nick was hiding in a wall and he was scared. This actually depicted him on his childhood. He definitely hated muzzles, you know. So let me show you what he really dislikes. He dislikes muzzles, prejudice, being hustled, and betrayal. He dislikes discrimination and claw marks. So eventually like that, he definitely does hate like discrimination. Like I was saying just now, some people are discriminated because you know that they're discriminated because of their disability, you know. They're discriminated. It's because they're really discriminated of the disability. And sometimes the fact is when people just say that you're probably an Asian or you're probably going to have to get out of this country. It's probably the fact is because people are discriminated for their own person, own will. Like for an example, Jim 984 on Divine Art apparently bullied me and called me racist. So eventually, this is another case on why you should never call someone racist just because they're different. Well, as I was saying, as a Malaysian Chinese, who knows about Asian hate? I've known because there's been a lot of news saying that many people are discriminated and they have like prejudice towards each other. It's not okay. It's seriously not okay. Everyone has a chance to believe, especially if you're an Asian or if you're not an Asian, you still have to be kind to the person. Like for an example, an American definitely discriminates like some kind of Japanese or Filipino or even Malaysian people who come to America to study or to have a job in here. I'll just consider this one. It's not okay. It's not okay to discriminate others, especially to other people who are different or who are special needs, as I was saying. So this is one of the examples that I would apparently say that this is similar to Nick Wilde's childhood. When he was really young, he apparently just got brutally beaten and ridiculed. It apparently turns out to be a cruel prank. But what if you're saying like, I don't like this person. This person should go back to their country. This is not okay. This is unacceptable behavior towards other people. If you don't like the person, you can just leave. Not to mention or not to brag, but I do believe some people would just say that, oh, you really are going to pay for this. They just kick you out because you don't belong in this country. What I was really just saying is people just develop a triggering fear of people who are really mean. But anyways, guys, that's like really enough of the talking. So apparently, so this is the video for the gondola clip. So eventually it features a young Nick Wilde and his mother. So eventually, Richmore has confirmed that Nick's mother is still alive, and they were living in the same apartment when she and Nick were in, and Nick wanted to join the Scouts. So eventually, what I was really going to say. So eventually, she's still alive and she raises Nick on that day. So eventually, what I was really going to say is there going to be Zootopia Plus featuring Nick's parents? Well, the answer may be yes, because it dives deeper. It includes like all the new characters, such as gazelles, talented tigers, and dance. So this was actually announced on the same day where Finnick's voice actor, Tommy Lister Jr., died from COVID-19 last year. So this was actually the second animated studios before Baymax. So eventually, what I was really going to say is that when you just see this video right here, you probably just see that definitely Nick has like a mother instead of father. Because I actually just checked out the Disney Wikipedia and just say that Nick definitely has a mother. So this is actually the same thing as the Zootopia Wikipedia really said. So apparently there's nothing I can really say right now. So eventually, Nick definitely did have some sympathy towards his childhood because it was like traumatic, you know. So eventually, what I was really going to say is that I think Nick's father may come, Nick's father may not. We don't know if Nick's parents are going to be here. So there's actually a question right here. Is Nick Wilde's parents going to be in Zootopia Plus? So apparently, in my opinion, maybe Nick Wild parents are apparently going to be in the movie. So there's gonna be like a Zootopia 2, but eventually this one is like fake. So unfortunately, it's currently unknown now who will be Nick's parents like in the theater, because this is like unnamed, and I know the series is like in Zootopia Plus there's probably that there's actually Nick's parents. So anyways guys, this is me, Wheeling the Tomboy Gamer, signing off.